What is up, Speedy Freaks? This week we are covering the 2014 movie The Rewrite, which stars Hugh Grant and Marisa Tomei. But more importantly, almost the entire film is set in the crown jewel of the Southern Tier, Binghamton, New York. When Jim and I sat down, we didn't expect we'd talk about this movie for over 2 hours. So we're actually going to break format a little bit and break this review up into 2 separate episodes. Today's episode will cover the first half of the movie, and next week's episode will cover, you guessed it, the second half of the movie. As you'll hear, I can't quite recommend watching this movie, but if you're so inclined, we have the movie linked down below. It is free to watch, so check it out if you want. Or you can listen to us recap the whole movie, which we're going to start right now.
Hey, what's up? I'm Jim Search, and welcome to Understanding Upstate. It's a podcast dedicated to exploring what makes upstate New York such a unique place. Each week, my co-host Rob Adler and I dive into a new upstate topic to better understand what's up upstate. And today, we are talking about the 2014 classic film The Rewrite, which was shot on location for a week in Binghamton, New York. So this, for me, Rob, was what a ride.
Yeah.
And boy, I got a lot of fucking notes to jump into with this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we both have an encyclopedia's worth of notes, so
Yeah.
there's going to be, I think we're going to pretty much just get right into it. With,
Yeah.
Minimal intro or outro. This is a 4-hour episode. Just buckle in.
Yeah, so if this is a Sunday and you are cleaning your house, you want to do a deep clean of your home, put us on in the background while you get to that.
Listen to it twice. You know, we need those listens.
Or make it a full shift. If this is a 4-hour episode, you do 8 and your day is done, man.
Look, listening to our episode 2 times is going to be more enjoyable than watching half of this movie. That's the promise I'm making.
So when we get to the review section at the end, Rob, I feel like people are going to know what direction you're ready to go to review this little classic joint here.
It's a 10-year-old film, and boy, does it feel it. It's
what's interesting too is like 2014 in that area, which is when this movie came out, was, even though it's roughly 10 years ago, film was really fucking different. And the shit that would fly on film, on television, even in stand-up, you can't do today, right?
Yeah.
Like, we talk about, like, when you go to, when you watch, those, frat films from, the 80s, like Revenge of the Nerds, like Meatball, Porky's, and all that shit, right? Those films do not age well.
Right.
But there's a substantial pocket of film from this time that do not age well. And this is definitely going to be one of those because, boy, Hugh Grant's character, Keith, in this film
unredeemable,
is a bad dude.
Unredeemable.
It normalized a lot of behavior that would have gotten his ass fucking canned.
I think, Jim, the entire English department would have been thrown out. We'll get into it, but my word, I watched this movie with my wife, and we both groaned so many times through.
Yeah, I watched this on the Dolo here, and as I'm watching it, I'm just like, yeah, this guy, boy, I can't believe he's saying this shit out loud.
Yeah.
And also, the writing, I'm like, man, you guys.
And the context is, he's made some bad decisions, but you like him?
Right. Yeah, there was supposed to be this, this lovable aspect of, the fuck up. He's supposed to be like a McNulty from The Wire.
He's a Hugh Grant character. This movie stars Hugh Grant. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really what it is. So,
I mean, yeah. Should we just get right into it?
Let's jump right to it, man.
All right.
So we open the film, right? And Keith, Hugh Grant's character.
Jim, let's throw out all character names immediately.
All right.
All my notes are Hugh Grant and Marisa Tomei. I'm not using character names. There's so many famous people in this movie. We don't have to use character names.
I also have the Nazi from Oz.
Oh, yes. Yes. J.K. Simmons.
Yep. Who also, we'll just call J.K. All right. So Hugh Grant is pitching. He's a Hollywood writer, right? And he's pitching a film where Jack Nicholson is is a funeral. And he comes back to life or some shit like that. Yeah. And nobody likes it. Nobody wants it. In fact, one of the people he's pitching it to is just like, what if you had like a woman lead character in the film? Right. And boy, Hugh doesn't like that.
Right. And also like... his tone and we hear this a lot throughout the movie, but like everyone's doing movies about women that are empowered. I was like, were they in 2014?
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know what movies you're watching, dude, but man.
Also, for context, this movie was written and directed by the writer who wrote both Miss Congeniality movies, which is a movie that has a strong female lead, a one Sandra Bullock. He he collaborated with Sandra Bullock a ton, and also Hugh Grant. Like he's written movies with strong female leads.
I think he's just trying to establish how much of a shitty person Hugh is in this movie, right? Sure. So like, I don't know if, now that we're talking about it, if he really was trying to have, like, he was trying to send this guy as far left as he could. Right. Not in politics, but in just fucking demeanor. So Hugh's agent, right, pitches him because like nothing's going well, right? Yep. He's getting rejected after rejection. Hugh's agent pitches him a job in Binghamton, right? And he would be teaching screenwriting. And of course, Hugh is so much above this. He's like, you can't teach writing, which is like, what? Yeah. Like, how the fuck did you learn how to do it, shithead? So he's like, I don't want to do this. I'm better than this. And then the lights go out in his apartment.
I think he says something to the effect of teachers are like miserable fucks who can't do, so they teach. That trope. Exactly.
Like, they're failures, so now they found this little pocket where they can have control, like that sort of shit, right? Because things are going so well, right? Because he's fucking killing it right now. And then I will give this film some credit in that, there's that idea of you show, don't tell, right? So like the lights go out in his house, and you're like, well, you gonna take this job then?
And dog? Con Ed calls immediately. I was like, I mean, they'll cut your power off. They're not contacting you. Have you ever tried to deal with Con Ed or Nat Grid? They're not responsive.
And if anything, you got to talk to them because they're kind of in control right now because they're a multi-billion-dollar fucking organization.
But it's a movie. I can suspend disbelief
there's a lot
for that.
We're gonna we'll let that slide. So then Hugh, after doing some reconsidering, goes, and I quote, "Where exactly is Binghamton? Fuck you.
This is
fuck you, dude. Yeah. There's no P in that. Yeah. How dare you, as a Binghamton fucking native, get the fuck out of here. And I don't care if you're from England or whatever. Sure. You better fucking put some respect on the name of Binghamton, please." So he says that. I'm immediately just like, I hope you lose. I'm not rooting for you at any point here.
Look, you were going to cut him some slack with the women comments in film, but this is where you draw the line.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll let your misogyny slide, but once you put a P in Binghamton, not here for that. So that is sarcasm, by the way.
Yes.
So now we do like this expository scene where we get the scoop on Binghamton, right? We learn about Speedy.
He's on some like proto Wikipedia page too. I almost did some screenshots to read what this page said, but I I did not have the time to deal with this. Although I did notice on one of the pages it said like Binghamton was known as the city of parlors or something to that extent, which we're going to have to cover at a later.
Yep,
a later
Parlor City. So Speedies, we learned about that.
I think we had like a Speedy diagram, right? Like, I was, At this point, I had called my wife into the room and rewound because she missed this part. I was like, Athena, there's Speedy diagrams. She's like, okay.
She's like, cool. Do you want anything to drink? So then we get to Rod Serling, right? You have to, like, if you're gonna do your rundown of Binghamton, you better talk about Rod, which to further poke holes in his theory of you can't learn how to write, or like you can't teach someone how to write, blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, Rod Serling learned to write and was inspired by his teacher, Helen Foley.
Which we covered. If you had listened to our goddamn podcast.
If you would have jumped in your time machine and understood that, like, he learned, Rod Serling, the godfather of television writing, learned how to write and was inspired to write by his teacher.
And then went to like many universities in his
and
his
taught
career.
himself.
And taught,
he was an adjunct
lectures
himself.
And stuff.
Get out of here, man. So anyway, he goes to Binghamton, right? And as he put it, the end of civilization. Fuck you.
Has he been to Appalachian?
He has not been to Appalachian.
Damn it.
Almost.
So close.
We'll get there, man.
No,
you know
we
what?
won't, Jim.
Yes, we will. Because
man.
once a teacher, always a teacher.
That's
We're gonna now with that attitude, you won't.
That's true.
So we're in Binghamton. We are seeing Binghamton, and boy, am I getting hyped. So now this is fun. So when he gets the letter from Binghamton University, right? Because also like he takes the job. He goes and they give him housing. He's a professor at the college, so they throw him in the house and shit. His house is 296 Murray Street, which your boy grew up on Murray Street. So I'm like, let's talk about it. So I'm like, wait a minute. Because then I see like where he lives. And I'm also like, and if any Speedy freaks out there who love this movie as much as you do, I don't know if those scenes outside are in Binghamton, but it looks real fucking close. Like that, if that's a set, I tip my hat to you. But 296 Murray Street is off Lydia Street, and that is in the hood. Now, I did a Google Map search of 296 Murray Street, and if y'all are out there listening, look up 296 Murray Street and see that ain't no college professor about to live in this house.
It was like a gorgeous yellow Victorian mansion, right?
Like there's a lot of pre-war housing in Binghamton that looks absolutely gorgeous, and that would be one of them that he was staying in. But 296 Murray Street in real life, dude, you are in the hood. You are in the hood on the west side. Now, where he was looks like the west side of Binghamton, so like I will give them that.
Right.
It looks like a really nice part of town, which there are nice parts of Binghamton, but 296 Murray, not on my watch. We're not. I will not suspend belief for that, Rob. No way. Now, then they cut to a shot of the bridge, right? They're doing a shot of the bridge.
I told Athena that we walked across it.
Yeah, damn right we did. Goddamn right we did. And that angle from where they were shooting is the Holiday Inn. Like, I know that angle.
Whoa,
I have stayed in many a hotel room in the Holiday Inn. I know that exact angle, if not in a room there on the roof.
Right.
Or something, but like that specific angle.
I thought I was being real cool telling Athena I walked across that bridge. Meanwhile, you're like, I've had this view before. I've seen this bridge from this angle before.
Truth be told, I have a little bit of, having grown up in this town.
Sure.
I definitely may have some lived experience that I'm bringing to the table.
Well,
here.
You know what? When we go to Serling Fest 2024, we'll try and get a room with that view.
Oh yeah.
There we
Oh
go.
hell yeah.
And we'll put pictures on our Instagram. You should go follow us on Instagram so you can see those pictures in 6 months.
That's right, baby.
At Upstate. Whoa, what's the name of our Instagram? At Understanding Upstate.
That's
There
right.
you go.
So we get that to establish that we are now in Binghamton.
Mm-hmm. I think we maybe see one of the EJ arches. Right?
Yep. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Which again we've talked about on our little pod here. Now we cut to Hugh is at a Wendy's, right?
This is, meanwhile, we've been talking for a while. We're not even 10 minutes in.
I know.
Not even 10 minutes in. For what's about to happen, my mind was absolutely blown.
Right. A lot of behavior gets normalized real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick. What I can say though, and I felt I almost forgot to mention this. What's great about this film is it really does echo so much of life in Binghamton because it's a lot of white people with a few black people sprinkled in.
Sure.
And that is very much life in Binghamton. So whoever did the research
Sure.
of this, boy, did they nail it. Or it's just Hollywood.
Or it's just a movie from 2014.
Or that, right? That's also the part of the plot line as well. So anyway, Hugh is at a Wendy's, and this isn't just any Wendy's, okay? This is an actual honest-to-God Wendy's in Binghamton on the west side. It still stands to this day, and your boy worked at that Wendy's many, many moons ago.
This is a stunning revelation. Again, I was impressed when you said you've seen that same view from the bridge. You've worked in the Wendy's.
I worked at the Wendy's featured in the rewrite where Hugh sat looking like a piece of shit, just off into space, right?
Also, considering they only had a week in Binghamton, they spent at least a whole day at this fucking Wendy's.
They sure did.
What are they doing?
And, you know, to get that, this scene that they're in the Wendy's, I don't know.
It's
like 6 minutes, we'll say.
I'll say this. It's the most important scene in this film because it set I already disliked Hugh Grant as a character and kind of as a person.
Sure.
But already don't like this character after what is about to transpire.
Sure.
Irredeemable for the rest of the movie. I'm done with him. I'm out.
Yeah, he's not going to make a good case for himself. But
No.
before I tell you that, I should tell you a quick anecdote about this Wendy's in particular.
Please do.
This Wendy's that I worked in many, many moons ago, I had a manager who, when it would get very busy, he would sneak into the walk-in cooler and eat chicken sandwiches while everyone else worked. Right?
Wow,
I remember
it was a
this
power move.
Yeah, it was a real power move where he would do that. And he would do it. And one time when he did it, somebody turned the lights off in the walk-in cooler while he was eating the sandwich.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, he kicks the door open and he goes, "The next person who turns that light off is suspended for 2 weeks." And we were all like, well, what if you didn't hang out in there, right?
Yeah.
Because then you wouldn't have to worry about that and actually do your job. But anyway, fun story about Wendy's. Now, we jump back into the movie. Hugh is sitting there staring off into space, reflecting on the fact that he is now in the end of civilization.
Right. Also, why, there's good food options in Binghamton.
There
I've
sure
sampled
is.
some of them.
Yeah.
Why the fuck did he go to Wendy's?
I think, you know what, though? I think the reason he did is that, well, he didn't know about any of this, even though, he did his research on Speedies, but I don't think he really believed in the power of them.
Yep.
And he had to go with what he knew, and what he knows is going to be the corporate chain Wendy's, which is there. Now, he's staring off into space, and then there are these 3 college girls that are sitting on the other side of the restaurant, and one of them goes, "What are you looking at?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And then they start hitting on him.
Yep.
Right?
And what does he do, Jim? He stands up and walks over and takes a seat.
Boy, does he
pulls up a chair.
This 40-plus dude is not wasting any time and coming over.
I think you're being generous with that 40-plus.
This 75-year-old man is not. It's not wasting any time obliging these women what they want. Now, one of the women there, we'll call them girls because these girls are really young.
Yes.
Reaches over to take a fry from him on some real, like, I'm flirting with you.
Yeah, that's
right?
when you stand up and bust your tray and leave. Like, all right, I'm out.
And
I shouldn't have been here to begin with. I'm out.
Yeah, but, you know, since he's a Hollywood scumbag, he's like, oh, young chicks? All right, let's go. And so then we...
Also, one of them is high, right? Like,
yes.
Like, one of them's out of it.
Yeah.
I think they're all students at Binghamton University,
right?
And
students.
One of them recognizes him as the one that takes the French fry. I think her name's Karen.
Kara? Yeah, or Karen?
Ooh,
Karen?
I don't know.
All right, we can go with Karen. I like Karen.
Sure.
That does establish something as well. All right.
Karen recognizes him as a famous Hollywood writer.
Sure.
I don't know if we've mentioned it in this movie. He's had like one big hit, right?
Paradise something.
Paradise, not Lost.
I was about to say Paradise Lost. Paradise something, right?
He's got one movie, his like first big movie, and he got an Oscar for it, right?
Yes.
And again, he hasn't had success since that, like we were mentioning. But she recognizes him as being this somewhat famous writer.
Right. So now, so after that, we move to Hugh waking up in bed. Like, he's just now back in bed, like at his house.
Yeah.
Right. And then the camera pans out, and there is the college girl laying right next to him. Mm-hmm. And I have in my notes, welcome to Binghamton, baby.
Jesus Christ.
Here we are.
At this point, I think I'm texting you, and as I'm watching it, and my main thought and concern is, outside of this fictitious world, in the real world, how the fuck did Binghamton University agree to being portrayed in this film? Because you have a professor, there's more, but within the first 10 minutes, a visiting professor picks up a student at Wendy's and brings them home. What the fuck were they thinking?
Which I will say, don't get more Binghamton than that.
Right. Truth in advertising.
Listen, man.
I guess
as a born and raised Binghamtonian, a guy dating an age inappropriate girl and picking her up at a Wendy's. Man, this ain't the first time that this happened. We might be real true to form of life for some Binghamtonians. Now, to even just further continue down the road of like creep Binghamton behavior, after we see this, the Hugh and the college girl in bed, then there's just a guy in the window, right? He just appears.
Yeah.
Chris Elliott.
I was gonna say Chris Elliott.
And appears in his window.
He's the camera guy in Groundhog Day.
Yep.
He's in Schitt's Creek. He's very recognizable face, and also kind of he plays creepy guys sometimes, and
does
not
it well.
Not a face you want poking out in your window.
But again, if this is not true to form in Binghamton, man, listen, this is not too far fetched for my little hometown. Yeah. So he shows up. He is just on some creep shit, and he was like, "All right, man, I get it, cool." And then after that, Hugh goes to work, and he meets his boss, who is the Nazi from Oz.
Yep, J.K. Simmons, who. This movie came out like at the exact same time that Whiplash came out, where he's playing an abusive educator.
Yes.
And this is a different role. And my own headcanon was like, this is the spoiler alert for Whiplash.
Right.
He gets fired. But this is the job he went and took after he was fired.
After getting canned.
Yeah.
now, so he's there. He kind of gives Hugh the rundown, and he's like, "All right, so you're going to be a professor here. You're going to teach screenwriting. You've got 70 screenplays to read. They're at like 30 pages each.
Yeah.
So have at it
by tomorrow or some shit.
Yeah,
too.
just like some
email exists, guys. Like, come on. He had the flight from LA to Binghamton is not short, and I assume not direct either.
No, I again, to the shock of so many of our speedy freaks out there, there is not a straight shot.
Sure.
You're going to transfer.
He had at least 10 to 12 hours of transit where he could have been flipping through these scripts.
Absolutely. And like, I would hazard to say that like, you probably fly from LA to New York, which there are some straight shots.
Although I think it showed him driving from like Scranton area.
Or that's another option. You could fly into Scranton, but there was we did have the car scene. I was even thinking like you could fly from LA to New York and then drive from New York up.
But even LA to Scranton, there's got to be a connection.
There's got
to be a connection.
You might even connect before that somewhere in the Midwest, if I had to guess.
Chicago, Minneapolis.
There might be you might catch a flight there. Anyway, that's our spin-off podcast is connecting flights to Binghamton.
Damn, dude, that's a good podcast name. I'm gonna bookmark that for later. We'll figure out what it's like. Yeah, we'll figure that one out.
We'll get there. So, Marisa Tomei pops up, right, and recognizes him, right? And, she is a bit older than the previous woman that Hugh had been with.
Like by 30 years?
A touch older.
One might say age appropriate.
Yes, this is an age appropriate woman for Hugh. And she is really bringing in like the going back to school as an adult.
Yeah. Though he assumes that she is a professor.
Right. And then you kind of get the energy that she's kind of hitting on him a little bit too.
And he's not interested.
At
this point, I was livid. I believe I said to my wife, like, Marisa Tomei is one of the most attractive women to grace the silver screen. Hugh Grant couldn't care less, and that's because he's a predator and he wants women that he can manipulate. So,
correct.
Again, we're just establishing that he's a piece of shit by not being attracted to Marisa Tomei.
Yeah,
sorry, it's
and that's those you are hitting the nail on the head in each moment here. So she wants to submit a screenplay, and he's like, "Fuck that."
We missed an important detail. He selected he selected his class.
Right.
And this is, again, I'm building a court case against this character.
And a solid one.
Yeah. At this point, so he's, the scene we missed was he's got all the scripts and he's going through them very quickly, right? Like he's looking at he reads like a one page and is like, oh, this is fucking terrible.
Right.
Doesn't not giving any of them a chance. So then he pops onto Facebook and he starts looking up the students' names and he selects his class a fucking predator just by looks. He's just putting in young women that he regards as attractive to his class. And this is explicit. And it's also played up for yucks. It's played for jokes. There's, I believe, funk 70s porno kind of music playing at this point too, and I was just not a fan.
And then so and to further establish this, right, there's a good looking dude that pops up and he's like, fuck that, we're not doing that,
too good looking, and he puts in two dudes that are
nerds.
two nerdy looking dudes
that are going to be no competition for him.
Correct.
Right? Which golly.
All played for yucks.
Yep.
So cut back to Marisa Tomei. He's selected his class. She wants to see if she can still get in with a late submission.
Yeah.
Right?
And he's like, all right, whatever. Now, JK, I also want to call him Schillinger, because he that is his name from Oz, but we'll go with JK.
Sure.
JK, tells Hugh that there's going to be like a mixer or like a staff happy hour, cocktail hour, or whatever in the Susquehanna room, which is named after the Susquehanna River. Also in Binghamton. Yeah. Shout out. So they did their research.
Which meets in a confluence with the
Shenango.
Damn it. Shenango. Ah, man.
There. I was walking you there.
Hey, look, I'm surprised I said confluence and used it in the correct usage. I should stop while I'm ahead.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. Two rivers meet together. That is a confluence. All right. Now, so we get to the party, and you guys may be listening, and if you haven't seen the movie, you're probably
Well, I'll say this: and I think I mentioned this off mic. The only likable character in this film is Binghamton.
Right, baby. That's
and
right.
like, if you want to see Binghamton, man, it's the film is shot well. There's some beautiful shots of Binghamton, and we'll get to some of the fixtures of Binghamton. Skim through for the panoramic shots of Binghamton.
I would also offer, though, if you are from Binghamton, this is a fun dive because there are some real landmarks. If you know, like the Wendy's I used to work in, and the Brit, like they really, that is, and also I'm all over the place here, but also the Binghamton Airport, that is the airport in Binghamton.
Cool.
So there are some landmarks to be seen.
I was going to say, if you're a fan of this podcast, which God, I hope you are if you're listening.
Yeah, you better be, man.
I enjoyed noticing things I knew from doing this podcast, right? Or like things I've seen when you and I visited Binghamton.
Right.
So it's fun to watch in that regard. Also, it's online for free, so I would have felt differently if I paid money to rent.
Yeah.
It.
I would offer watch this because it's free.
Yeah.
I wouldn't dismiss. I wouldn't pay money to see this. But again, if you are from the Binghamton area, this is a fun dive. And also, quick side note: when I vaguely remember when this was filming, there was a substantial buzz around Binghamton that this was happening because they're filming a legit Hollywood feature in Binghamton, New York. This does not happen very often.
Yep.
All right, so back into the blockbuster, the rewrite. So Hugh goes to the party, and again, folks, for those of you who have not seen this, you are not going to be shocked when I say this, but he turns out to be a real misogynist piece of shit in this party, slowly gets drunk throughout it.
Jim, you're giving him too much credit. He does not slowly get drunk. He houses his first goblet of red wine, immediately takes a second, downs that pretty quickly too. He's so, quick on the draw and quick.
What
on
I
the
meant
sip.
to say was slow compared to a frat guy.
Sure.
No, you are correct. He does get shit housed, and then definitely puts his foot in his mouth in speaking to all the staff because he's talking to, and I forget the woman's name,
Allison Janney, another real famous actor.
Yeah. She was in God, what was that movie? Anyway,
she's in again, you would absolutely recognize her. She's in I'm about to say, God, what's that TV
Tanya?
show?
Was she in Tanya?
Maybe. I didn't see Tanya.
Tanya is Tanya Harding, and she was her fucked up mom.
Oh, she's the stepmom in Juno, I think.
Okay.
Or just the mom in Juno. She's also in, God, what's that movie about the president? Not movie, political TV show.
Well,
West Wing.
There it is.
There we go.
That's the pepper.
She's in the West Wing.
So she plays the antagonist, the villain of this film.
She plays. she's portrayed as the antagonist and villain. She, up until a certain point, is maybe the only redeemable character, and is I would say the hero.
Yeah,
of this film.
If you're in the universe where again, this is the upside down where Hugh is the lovable misogynist piece of shit. she is the voice of reason, who's just like, wow, you're a real piece of shit, and you are saying horrible things about women and like all this other shit.
Important note: she's in charge of the ethics committee.
Yes,
for the school, which I think is mentioned early on, but like also as a note of like, she's a real
ball buster.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, so he embarrasses himself at the party. Then after
with like a specific line that what is it? Something about he says something specific about not liking women.
Yeah, it was, and like women should be like beaten up more.
Yeah, in film.
Yeah, in film, right? Like. Because that doesn't happen often, I guess. Enough for Hugh's liking.
He's echoing the notes he received from the producers at the start of the film, where it was like,
yes,
everyone wants strong female leads. Well, that's not radical right now. There's too many of those. I want a woman that gets beat up in a movie, and everyone's like,
what?
What's your name again, sir?
Yeah.
You just walked in the room.
Yeah, like hi, I'm Dave.
Yeah.
So now we get to the first day of class, right? Mm-hmm. And he walks in, and all the kids are like excited because he's there. And he basically tells them, like, all right, so you guys submitted 30 pages. Most scripts are 90. That means you got to write 60 pages. I say you write 5 minutes. You write a page a day. I'll see you in a month. Bye.
Yep, dismisses the class for a month.
And then dismisses the class for a month. What? That's fucking wild. So, I mean, again, he really, like, if you were trying to, like, find some level of redemption, it's just like, man, you are a real fuck.
Yeah, like, you could, I feel like if you put sinister music under this film, like, you put Trent Reznor, like, grinding synths under this, it would change you don't have to change anything else. It would make it into this dark character study.
Because, boy, is he doing it. Now, he meets with JK. Mm-hmm. Hugh meets with JK, and JK is like, yeah, you really stepped in some shit in that party. You really have to kiss, what's her name again?
Allison Janney.
Allison's ass to keep your job. Yeah. Because she's the head of the ethics committee.
And you got drunk at your first meeting and made deplorable comments about women.
Right. To this like staunch feminist Allison who like loves Jane
who's
Austen.
Doing her job by protecting students and their education as well.
Yeah. So now he brings Allison like a peace offering of like a Jane Austen tote bag, and then he gets dressed down in the meeting by Allison, where she's just like, says everything that we just said, and is like, you now have to be a real teacher because I heard about you dismissing your class for a month. That's not what they paid for. Be a fucking teacher. So now he like he reads Marissa's script, right? And now he has to actually teach. Right. And so then we have like the awkward beginning of the class because now he has to really do it and he doesn't really know what to do. And he's like, oh, so this part was kind of funny. If this is where we are, where like he's like doing the roll call. Oh
yeah. Yeah. I chuckled here.
And somebody was like, yeah, so there's only 10 people and all 10 people are here. So I'm pretty
plus
sure.
One.
Yeah. Well, plus Marissa. So I think everybody's here. Yeah. But like earnestly was just like, I think you can skip that, right?
Much like you can skip this movie, but go on.
Yeah, never see it again. So then finally somebody I think says, why did you come to Binghamton to teach? Right? I think Marissa says that, right? Because she's like, sees that he's drowning up there.
Really like,
look,
Marissa's helping out
as a former educator. I can tell you that this is a teacher who was floundering and had no idea.
I have notes on this as well.
Yeah, he wasn't really killing it. So Hugh, then just goes home with Karen, right? Like it's his girlfriend.
Yeah,
like everything is fine.
Hop in, I'll give you a ride to my house.
Yep. We're dating, right?
He's already been hauled into a meeting with the ethics committee professor and is in trouble, and he doesn't pause to think at all. Maybe I shouldn't give my 18-year-old girlfriend a ride to my home that I know my neighbor
who also works at the school
and just likes to look in my windows is around, right?
Yeah, fine, right? So to that point, she goes inside. Karen goes inside, and then Hugh sees
Chris Elliott.
Chris,
yeah,
with his dog, and Chris is like, they start talking, and then that's when Hugh finally goes, "Hey man," in so many words, "is it cool if I bang my student?" And Chris is like, "No, not at all."
Yeah, people frowned upon.
People and people get fired for that. So you shouldn't do that, right? And then that's when JK pulls up.
But wait. Does he? Because I recall him being more of a, but your secret's safe with me.
Yeah, like yes, true. Like he did kind of allude to like, yeah, it's if you are, it's cool, but like just know,
I won't tell anyone. A wink.
Right. But just know that, like, if people find out, you'll be fired. Yeah. And that might be the least of your problems.
Sure.
Just so you know. Now, JK pulls up in the car.
Yep.
And a fun little like character trait wrinkle of his character is like he's got 4 daughters
and a wife,
and he like is like, oh, I gotta go home to the wife and the kids, but he like absolutely loves them.
And it's Jim. I'm sorry to keep hounding on this point, but this film hates women. Is my main takeaway.
Yeah.
And it's played for jokes that he loves his 3 daughters and his wife. Like he like gets teary and tries to hold it back.
Right.
Again, this man famously plays a terrifying Nazi.
He does. Yeah.
Again, he's he is great in this film, and his character acts fantastically in it. But again, it's like the portrayal is like, this poor bastard loves his family.
Right. Yeah. Just like this fucking loser has a family to go home to, right?
Yeah.
And also he is in the film, he's like a retired Marine.
Yes. Yeah.
And like can like murder you with his hands, which we'll get to that later on.
Yes, we will.
So Hugh then talks more shit about Binghamton, fuck you, to Marisa about the weather, fun and original and clever. And then
there's some statistic about how cloudy it is, right?
Yes, yeah.
Is this true?
Yes, it is. Like Binghamton is like one of the most cloudiest cities in America. It's like right up there with like Seattle, I think.
I did not know that. But the day we were there, very cloudy.
Yep.
Very cloudy.
We don't try and break from that. So then Hugh's back in class, and then like they're having some discussion, and then he tells the class like a very touching story of how he writes a script, and it started off as like a story to his kid, and then it kind of started to build itself
But
out.
Again, he's like prompted by the class to get into this too, right?
Right.
Like, he's not like, I've come up with a lesson plan. He's again showing up just like, oh fuck, I gotta teach.
Right. Which in true like white dude fashion, failing upwards, like nobody who wouldn't look like him would still have a fucking job at this point if he was like doing all the horrible shit that it's happening right now.
Absolutely.
But here is this like stellar moment where it's just like, I don't know what to do, and then like the kid's like, what if we did this? And he's like, oh cool. And then we do that.
Teaching's fun.
Right. So then Hugh and Karen go to the number 5 restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Is this a real restaurant?
This was.
Okay.
It is no longer because it's not open anymore. But where they were was not the number 5.
Got
this was a Hollywood set. That is not the real fucking deal.
Again, they opted to shoot at the Wendy's, but not choose a
probably
restaurant.
you know. And I also wonder, I can't remember when it closed, but I do know, and this was, I feel like it was recent, but anyway,
I was gonna say that could be plausible, because I was reading notes about the production of the movie, and there's one part where he wrote something that was going to happen in an open field on campus, and they went to it, and it was a loading dock that
right.
since been changed over. So I'm
sure there were some locations that were not feasible, and
or
this
didn't exist.
But yes, the number 5 is in fact a restaurant in Binghamton. It's a really nice restaurant. For the time, and it's also interesting too that, like, and again, this is the film, so it's not rooted in reality, but we're gonna step into the real world for a minute, where like this like college professor, middle-aged man is bringing this 18-year-old kid to like the nicest fucking restaurant in Binghamton.
And he now knows he's supposed to be like doing this shit undercover, right?
So you wouldn't go out to like Deposit or like Windsor, some like town way the fuck outside Appalachian, and then be like, all right, let's go to this little ass diner. It's like, no, let's be front and center in Binghamton. I
was gonna say, how big of a town does he think Binghamton is? Right, like he canceled class for a month, and Alice and Janney found out immediately. Like,
right.
This
isn't LA or New York where you can just like go to restaurant on the other side of town and be straight. Like, everybody know you. So speaking of everybody knowing everybody, again, true to Binghamton fashion, Marisa works at the number 5,
which I actually wasn't expecting. I was like, oh, that's fun, convenient, but all right.
Tracking very much so with the world of Binghamton, and that you're gonna run into everybody.
Sure.
So now she sees this, and in like just hilarious. This is kind of funny. I'm not gonna front. She's like, "Oh, hey, Karen. Good to see ya. What do you want to drink?" And she's like, "Oh, we got a Chardonnay." And she's like, "Oh, do you have ID?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Sure." And Marissa's like, "That's not you." Sorry, Hugh, but I got to kick out your 18-year-old girlfriend from dinner, right? And then like,
well, Marisa doesn't kick her out. Karen gets upset and challenges Hugh to like back her up. Right. Like, huge scene in the middle of the restaurant, and they're not in a dark corner. They're having front and center in the middle of the restaurant. Yeah, big argument.
Which like so then the workaround for her not getting that is that Hugh was just gonna order Chardonnay and they were gonna split it.
Yeah, which he says in front of Marisa, which is not.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, no.
But also I had a moment where I was like, dude, is this your life?
Yeah.
Like, this is your life, hanging out with this 18-year-old girl?
Negotiating the terms of getting her underage drinking? Like, Jesus Christ.
Do you not see anything wrong with this, you fucking maniac?
No one on production did, Jim.
No. And
that we know of.
The plot, storyline, all this, wonderful. Right. So after that,
Karen leaves, and I want to the line that Hugh Grant's character says as he leaves, and everyone's staring at him. He goes, "Daughters, like, what are you gonna do?" And at which point, the audible groan me and my wife both let out. We're just like, Jesus Christ, no, absolutely not.
So it's like you are a full-fledged predator, right? Like that, like, let's keep it 100 here. Like, this is who you are. Well, not to be Marisa is not dismayed by this at all, right?
Absolutely not.
She's
another day in Binghamton.
Yep, she's totally letting it fly, which I will say there is like this, and again, she's like the beacon of positivity, and I think Hugh calls her out on it, which, like, fuck you. But like, there are those kind of like happy-go-lucky-ish folks that run around Binghamton like this, and I thought, like, wow, this looks. I know, like, the Marisas of this film, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, adult going back to school. It's just like, I'm a mom. I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
That sort of shit.
Yeah.
Well. So again, she is not dismayed by this at all. She's like, all right, so my professor's fucking an 18-year-old. Whatever. This is life.
Hugh's also not dismayed. He doesn't leave. He sits down for a nice salmon and a glass of Chardonnay.
And he pounds that shit too, because he's like, fuck that. I'm here to get lit.
Yeah.
So good work if you can find it. So now after this, so like Karen leaves, and then he has food, and then Marisa and Hugh go to the carousel, which
because Marissa's driving him home. She's doing he's too drunk to drive because he got drunk alone at
well, God is still here, so right. He didn't get drunk alone. God is always here.
That's true.
So he had someone with him, but in this case, to drive, because she served him, and that's when she's like, well, if you like drive somewhere, like you'll get in a car accident and then I'll be held liable, which not quite like Binghamton. Right. I can tell you from experiences that I've had there, trust me, people will overserve you and then be like, good luck. Get out there. Yell such and such. There's a dude I used to hang out with who was a remarkable drunk driver. He was really good at it too, man. He was one of the best.
Wow.
But then eventually he got caught. But I will say the times that I've been in a car with him and he's been drunk, really good. But Marisa wasn't going to take any chances with Hugh and was like, you got to come with me. Yep. I'll give you a ride. And then they go to the carousel, which I will tell you, for continuity's sake, carousels in Binghamton are not open in the wintertime.
This is what I read. Yep.
That is not how that works. You better go in the spring and summer.
Yep.
And maybe the fall. But definitely that's just not popping. And then we see the Rod Serling seal, which is a real seal, but that is not the actual seal because the actual seal is in the rec park column area. Which
So does that mean in some prop house in Hollywood there's a recreation of the seal just hanging out that could be listed on eBay at any moment? Oh my God!
Yes, you are correct. And so then
the reason we go to the carousel too is because Hugh is talking to Marisa about just her past. She was a dancer in New York City, got an injury, and he makes some shitty remark about like, oh, gee, returning to Binghamton after being in the big city. That must have been hard. And Marisa, to her credit, her character's credit, says Binghamton rocks. And she's trying to show him some of the sights, right?
And yes, and then also like she kind of points out like, is it though? Like, I like living here, so like, sucks for you maybe, but not for me.
Yeah, she's like,
right?
I like it. Yeah.
So I fuck with it. All right, so then Rob, what happens after that?
After that, we get the most lovely panoramic shot of Binghamton that I've ever seen. And I've attempted to shoot panoramic shots of Binghamton, and this is it's a gorgeous, like looking down maybe from the Holiday Inn, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
And beautiful shot. Scroll through, find this shot, guys. That's worth the price of entry right there. All right, Speedy Freaks, that's where we're going to leave it for today's episode. Be sure to tune in next week to hear the second half of our review. And as always, make sure to check out Jim's comedy album, Upstate Understandings, available at jimsearch.bandcamp.com. And check out my instrumental album as well. It's called New York Sticky, available at brooklynfrequency.bandcamp.com. Don't forget to rate and review the show. If you give us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, you can throw a suggestion for something you would like us to cover in future episodes in that review, and we just might cover it. All right, with that, we will see you next week.
Understanding Upstate is a podcast hosted by Jim Search and Rob Adler, edited by Rob Adler, and music from Regal Monk.